You might have enough money to retire by 2030 if you store up enough shares with a market value of $1 million and rely on a test of retirement. Honolulu's pina coladas are at stake, and I, for one, will not stake my claim on any other public figure than Elon Musk, one of the most influential, inventive, and imaginative entrepreneurs of our time. He is a real genius who has revolutionized a number of industries, including tunneling, artificial intelligence, space exploration, and electric cars. He is a true futurist who works nonstop to improve the world. He is not just a businessman. Stay tuned to learn how many shares you may require to become a member. In a few years, Tesla will open a bowling alley in Honolulu. But before we go, hit the like button and subscribe buttons. You may invest in the SP 500 and make roughly 7% a year. When the footage was captured, a good salary was thought to be $3,200 per month, which equated to $38,000 annually. However, due to inflation, the current salary is estimated to be around $4,600 per month. Over the next 10 years, inflation is expected to average between 3.5 and 4%. To combat the effects of inflation, it is advised to invest in inflation-resistant assets like gold, real estate, or stocks. If you do not save for investments, cash or cryptocurrencies may not offer enough protection against inflation, given the current inflation rate of 6.5%. The total annual income has increased from $38,000 to $55,000. By 2030, we project that the total income will need to reach approximately $72,000. If you are worried about the volatility of the stock market, particularly with regard to a specific stock like Tesla, you might want to think about other investment options. For example, the S&P 500 has historically returned approximately 10% annually and is a fairly solid investment with an average yearly return of 8 to 10%. By 2030, you'll need to have saved roughly $1 million if you want to live off of your Tesla stock investments alone. Purchasing Tesla stock might make you a multimillionaire. You could live comfortably for 40 years on a $1 million investment at 7% in the S&P 500. In the beginning, my worst-case estimate was 20 million vehicles annually. I've altered my view because there are other delivery scenarios that are available right now, such as a 33 million vehicle ultra bull case, a 10 million vehicle base case, a 20 million vehicle bulk case, and a 15 million vehicle scenario. It is projected that each vehicle will cost close to $30,000 to fully autonomous. Even though this could seem overwhelming, the expense must be taken into account. By 2030, just 7 years from now, the $15,000 one-time payment will probably have doubled. This is probably going to happen. S&P from Tesla is priced at a one-time charge equivalent to around 15% of a Tesla vehicle's current market value. Tesla would have been using their new number by now if they had one. By 2030, even with the sale of 25 million vehicles and the implementation of FSD, Tesla has promised to have 1 million robot taxis on the road. Million cars were produced in a bull market. The stock price would increase to $2,136, and the market value would surpass $7.8 trillion. Even though 20 million cars are expected to be built by 2030, this could be delayed by a few years. Although we project that the corporation may produce 16 to 18 million cars by 2030, we will assume 20 million under an even more optimistic scenario for the purposes of this scenario, which may not be possible by that year. In the most optimistic case, the market value may exceed $9 trillion and the stock price would be almost $24.56. The company is trading at $26.70 per share in the additional bull scenario, with a market capitalization of about $10 trillion and a price-to-earnings ratio of 35. However, given that this looks like a very implausible idea, estimations between 15 and 23 are preferred. The minimum number of shares you'll need today to reach your goal of having $1 million in retirement funds by 2030 is determined by the Super Bears case scenario, which calls for 936 shares at a cost of $190 per share, or a total of 177,000 in a bear case scenario. If 15 million vehicles are delivered, you'll need 624 shares, or about $180,000 today. This is less than the 177,000 needed in the Super Bear scenario, which calls for 936 shares at a cost of $186 per share. Now, let's move on to the bullish scenarios. As a reminder, these are only estimates. Always conduct your own research and confirm accuracy for yourself. In this bullish scenario, 407 shares are currently required, which would cost roughly $77,000. This goal can be achieved by maintaining financial discipline and storing the money in a secure storage account. Although it can be difficult, everyone can learn to exercise self-control when managing money, even though it may seem unattainable given the present market outlook and positive expectations. As I mentioned in the video, reaching 20 million vehicles by 2030 would take longer than predicted because of unplanned lockdowns in places like China. As a result, it might take a year or two longer. But even the most optimistic projections include errors, and these estimates are no exception. To sum up, even under the best-case scenario, a total of $77,000 is required, or roughly 407 shares as of this writing. This sum is not